Hi, boys and girls. This is a story called The Small Good Wolf, and it's by a lady called Mary Rayner. This is the first picture. And the wolf's in a cave, isn't it? Mother and Father Wolves tell this story to their cubs when they are in the cave, when snow has fallen and food is hard to find. They tell it as a warning. There they are in the cave. There once was a small good wolf. One morning he went for a walk in the woods when he saw a human coming towards him. Keep away from them, he'd been told. But he was not only small, he was brave as well. So he did not run away. He sat down and waited. The human was old and mean. She threw a stone at him. The wolf ran behind a tree. Then the big bad human walked back along the path to her cottage, and the small good wolf came out from behind his tree and followed her. He thought there might be some food there. She went inside and shut the door. He sat down under a tree. After a while, smoke came up out of the cottage chimney, and after some more time, the old woman came out with some washing, which she hung on the line. Then she went in again. So the wolf was watching all of this. I'll wait, thought the wolf. He was hungry and still hoped there might be some food. Soon the old woman came out again. The wolf lay very still. She looked up the forest path and said, "Drat that child! I'm not waiting around any longer." And she mounted her bicycle and rode away. The small good wolf hoped she might come back, but she didn't. A long way off he could hear the sound of an axe. A woodcutter was working in the forest. This story might sound a bit familiar to you, but it's slightly different. The wind made the clothes. Oh, there she is there. See it? The wind made the clothes on the line flap. Then it blew some off. The small good wolf ran after them. He felt with his nose if they were dry. They were. I'll take them in for her, he thought. Then she'll be nice to me. So he carried them in his mouth to the cottage and pushed open the door with his nose. The cottage was warm. There was a bed in one corner and a fire in the grate with a big washpot hanging over it. And on the wall there was a large mirror. Oh. The small good wolf thought it would be fun to try on the clothes, so he put them on and was just admiring himself in the mirror. That's a funny thing to do, isn't it? When there was a rat-a-tat-tat on the door. Help, he thought, where can I hide? So he jumped into the bed and hid under the bedclothes. The door was pushed open and in walked another human. The small good wolf shut his eyes and hardly dared breathe. Footsteps came towards the bed. Then they stopped. He opened one eye and looked. She was holding a basket with some food in it, a loaf of bread and some eggs. "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what big eyes you have." What a nutter, thought the small good wolf. Doesn't she know a wolf when she sees one? But he thought, this must be some kind of game. I'd better play too, or something nasty might happen to me. So he opened both eyes wide and sat up and said, "All the better to see with, my dear." Here's Little Red Riding Hood, isn't it? "Oh, Grandma," she said, "what a long nose you have." All the better to smell with, my dear," said the small good wolf, sniffing hopefully at the food in the basket. But she didn't give him any. Mean too, he thought, and he put out his tongue and licked his lips. "Oh, Grandma," said Little Red Riding Hood, for it was she, "what big teeth you have." There it was, Little Red Riding Hood. With a basket of goodies. "Blow this for a lark," thought the small good wolf. So he said, "All the better to eat with, my dear," and jumped out the bed to get at the food in the basket. Little Red Riding Hood screamed and dropped it and backed across the room. He was really just wanting the food. He wasn't wanting to scare Little Red Riding Hood. The woodcutter happened to be passing on his way home. He heard and rushed in with his big axe. The small good wolf dodged, seized the basket in his teeth, and ran out the door. The woodcutter comforted Little Red Riding Hood. "Where is that naughty old woman, your grandma?" he said. "She should have waited in for you." There's the woodcutter. Just then there was a scrunch of wheels on the gravel outside, and the old woman came home. When she heard what had happened, she felt bad, but she didn't say sorry. She said, "If anybody hears what really happened, they will blame me, so we'll make sure they don't. We'll say it was the wolf who was bad, won't we?" She has got a mean face, hasn't she? The small good wolf ran home to his cave with the basket of eggs and bread and shared it with his brothers and sisters, and they were very pleased because they were all hungry. The wicked old grandmother scalded herself doing the washing the very next week, and it served her right too. Oh dear. There's Little Red Riding Hood and her friends, and she's telling them the story. But Little Red Riding Hood and her family and her children and their children's children have been telling the story in their own big bad way ever since, and that is how you will have heard it. But if you were a wolf, you'd know different. So if you were a wolf, you would know the real story of the big bad wolf. He wasn't big or bad. He was small and good. And he did try and be helpful, didn't he? There's a picture of Grandma on her bicycle. And on the front there's the wolf sharing the eggs and the bread with his brothers and sisters. That was nice, wasn't it? Bye, boys and girls.